Hello there, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back once again here to talk about TNA wrestling shenanigans, and we are talking about the upcoming Slammiversary. A few matches have been announced, about four of the matches. I know one of the matches is sort of a little bit up in the air, but surely I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing and that's where they're going. So we're going to talk about it anyway. I do want to also talk about some of the other potential matches. I know that there could be more potential matches as well, but I think I've got a couple of them on the list of matches that could be showcased. So I want to cover those ones as well, because we probably will see those matches announced pretty soon. If not very soon. It's only a couple of weeks now until Slammiversary, so it's not very far away. So that card should fill out quite nicely. I have heard, before we get going right into talking about the card, or at least the first few matches that have been announced, is that they're only under 500 tickets left for the show. Now, there is still potentially some potential, I think, perhaps, for them to increase seating. So, maybe that is there. But the thing is, like, the last few hundred tickets or whatever that they've been selling have been selling pretty slowly. So honestly, I think that them selling out is at this point, with like 4K seating or whatever it is, I think thereabouts, is probably going to be their absolute peak. Maybe they'll get a few people coming in on the day or whatever else. Maybe they can add just a few hundred more seats or something. I'm not 1,000% sure, but still, I don't think that there's going to be much more than what there is. But still, there could be. But that is good news that they have basically sold out. They've only got like under 500 something seats left, so that is good to see. We've got to keep that positive momentum going, and we've got to, with this, they said that this is the biggest gate or whatever, not the biggest gate, but the biggest, going to be the biggest attended event in 10 years. So that's crazy. Between, like, I think 2010, 2013 is like when they had some of their biggest attendances, which is really weird, but still, that is when I think they had their biggest attendances. So yeah. But I do think that some of those attendances were like free seating and whatnot, so I don't want to comment too much on how well they did there, but still, it looks good. Or maybe they just moved the crowd to one half of the arena, like WWE did and like AEW have done and whatnot. So, but anyway, we'll get moving on, and the first match I guess we'll talk about is the X Division match. As I said, this is the match where it's a little bit up in the air, but surely this is where they're going still. Mustafa Ali versus Mike Bailey. So this is happening in Montreal. I am 99% to like 100% thinking that Bailey's going to win. Like, Mustafa Ali, he hasn't really signed a deal in TNA, and it feels like, well, he's just, filling in dates or whatever. And it's been nice to have him there and whatnot. I'm not going to say anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it's clear that he's like here to do a job or whatever, and he's here to do one thing or whatever, and then move on or do something else. Perhaps he's got I know the dude has a lot of offers from probably AEW and whatnot, and probably even offers to come back to WWE. So there is that, but he's really done some good work. I think that the overblownness of what he's done to the X Division or whatnot it is a little bit overblown, but he has done some good things and whatnot. So that is good. They really do need that. They really need that person, making this division feel big. And I think actually putting the X Division title on Bailey could be all right. Though then again, I kind of feel like he might not hold it for long. I don't know. Maybe a couple of months. Who knows? But I don't feel like he'll hold it for long because I feel like somebody else is going to win that title pretty soon. Um, Assuming I'm guessing what's happening in the future correctly, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, yeah, I don't see Ali winning here. Rather, sorry, I'm getting dyslexic. Yeah, I just don't see it. Like he could win, certainly. But where is it going after that? Like it's not like he's worked with literally everyone in the division, but he's worked with most of the people in the division. The thing is, though, I guess, is like, well, what's Bailey gonna do? Like, well, I said that he's probably gonna lose it, but what's he gonna do like after that? Because there's not that many great heels right now in that division, so I just don't see him working with that many people. Which is why I said maybe you'll hold it for a couple of months. So you know you don't know, but you know it's kind of easy to tell sometimes that where things are going or why somebody holds something for a short amount of time or a long amount of time or whatever, because it's like, well, they only hold it that period of time because hey, the division is what it is. So there's only so much you can do. So yeah, I wanted to just quickly touch on the matches that haven't been officially announced, but do seem like they will probably be matches that are announced. Going ahead before I talk about the other matches, ABC versus the System, aka Myers and Edwards. That is a very big potential match. It's probably going to happen. I feel like maybe they're holding off just announcing it because maybe they're potentially doing a triple threat Full Metal Mayhem match with the Hardys. Potentially, I don't know. I mean, that would be all right with me. I don't know, but then again, it's tough to really justify it in some ways. But then again, it'd be great. But then again, it'd be like, well, I don't know whether the Hardys are allowed to go. Maybe that's the sticky wicket, or maybe it's just that Jeff can't go. I don't know. So or maybe they're just trying to do this stuff since they know that they can't do stuff with the Hardys, or maybe the Hardys, whatnot, are going to do something after this. We'll have to wait and see about that. But again, like it just seems like they are trying to cram this in, and maybe they will get it, but maybe they won't. So they're just hoping for the best, I think. With that, Spitfire versus the Militia, aka Alicia and Marsha Slamovich. So like that's probably going to happen. I guess I didn't really talk about who would win the match there, but it does depend on whether it's a just straight up 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 tag or a triple threat. But I don't see realistically the System losing at this point. Not right now. It's not the right time, I don't think. And I do think that there will be something in that team there that kind of makes it fall apart. So we've kind of seen that here and there. So maybe that will officially kick off there, but we'll wait and see. But again, anyway, Militia definitely not losing to Spitfire. Like it's a little bit shit because the division, the women's tag division, is really thin, and that's the problem with having like their women's tag division there as well. It's like really tough to sort of have a division that doesn't really have enough wrestlers. Well, it has enough wrestlers just for the Knockouts title, but it doesn't really have enough wrestlers for both the titles or sets of titles or whatever. So there's no real point in having it. We've talked about this so much, but yeah, it's a little bit shit. So they've kind of got to just go up against no one for a while, or hardly anyone for a while. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. Kushida versus Gresham. I don't know whether like some of these matches, like this one or whatever we might talk about, another one might be pre-show matches. I don't know, but it's still like a match that could be happening at this time or around this time, or even like between like some like bigger matches that need somewhat of a more cool down match. This isn't a bad match, obviously, and there's stuff here to be invested in and all that, certainly, as you sort of say, but it's not like some of the more main matches, or it's what the openers would be and whatnot, so it wouldn't be that important. JDC versus Santana, I could see that. I don't know. That's potentially. But then again, you kind of want to see Santana, um, you know, in some other position. But it's like, well, there's no one else really for him to kind of go against, and in the system, because Moose is having his title match. Myers and Edwards are in their match. This might be why they just brought JDC back, just to take a pinfall loss and then move and then disappear or whatever. Maybe he'll stick around. Who knows? It does seem like the Charlie Dempsey might be doing something in TNA. I kind of want to see the Rascals reform. So I kind of want to see Charlie bring a couple of his NXT friends along, and Wentz come back to rejoin the Rascals. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But anyway, we'll move back along to talking about the confirmed matches, and I guess we'll talk about AJ Francis versus PCO, because there is some, like, I guess things up in the air with this one to some degree, because AJ has to defeat Rhino, which makes absolutely zero sense. He should be facing off against Laredo Kid, but I guess Laredo Kid couldn't make the tapings or something or whatever, or whatnot, so that doesn't make any sense. But still, like, he's got a challenger this week, so, and Rhino really hasn't done anything. He hasn't even been on TV or whatever, and he's got basically zero legitimacy at this point, so I don't see that Rhino's beating Francis here, so it's just another thing to give Francis another win. And I do think that Francis will retain the titles. I just don't see that he should lose them at this point. He's really just basically gained them, which, is kind of bad, but it is like, well, what are you doing putting the titles on PCO? Like, if he's just dropping the North American heavyweight title to PCO, that I'm fine with that. But like the digital media title, I guess, like, he shouldn't really lose it. He should keep it for a little while at least, and have some more stuff to go on and work with, and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. Tough to sort of figure out, but anyway, we'll move on to the Knockouts title match. Now, I guess this match is pretty tough to, I guess, talk about, because there's a little bit of, like, I guess, fan backlash with this one and whatnot, because everyone was kind of like hoping for something bigger and hoping for something more, but they've really played this story out for a good 6 months or whatever it's been. So yeah, like, this has been building for a while, and it's finally coming to a head. I was really thinking, like, just before this, like, they really need to start doing some stuff with Ash to move this story ahead, rather than her just kind of being there and spectating and whatnot and all of this. So they did that, so I'm glad that they did that, but it's kind of like, it didn't really get, like, the booze as far as heel heat booze that I think they think it got, or whatever. I think it did get some of that, but I think it mostly got booze because people were like, man, we want to see Natty, or we want to see something else. We want to see, Becky Lynch or something else, like, and there's still potential to see some of those people coming into TNA, and whatnot. But for right now, this is what we've got. And I don't want to say negative things, I guess either, so I don't want to leave it like that, but like, it's tough to say that Ash will win. Like, it's just impossible for me to see that Ash will win. Like, she's won a few matches, sure, that's cool, but she's not, like, been on a really hot streak, and it's not like she's beaten anyone who has, like, well, there's hardly anyone in that division that has a really big legitimate name, so it's really tough in that division for her to have beaten anyone of any legitimacy because there's hardly anyone in that division. But she basically has almost beaten everyone in the division, so it's like, well, it can make some amount of sense. So you could make that argument that she's like up there with being like the top contender. As far as the division goes right now. So that's the problem with the division. It's like there's some great women and then there's some great things going on in the division and whatnot, certainly. But again, it's just very tough sometimes that you've kind of got to work with what you've got, and you've got to have surprises, but you can't just have surprises. You want people to have a surprise that, is sort of known, almost like they know what the surprise is going to be, or that, the surprise becomes something that is known. Like if like Natty or whoever comes in after this and says, hey, I'm going to challenge you next month or whatever, that even then, though that's not exactly what people wanted, it's something that people kind of want to see, so it works out that people will tune in for the next one, so it helps them get a bigger buy the next time. So it's just, or maybe like even at Bound for Glory, I don't know, but whatever, we'll have to wait and see where that goes. But again, like, no shade on this, like, this is the angle that they've been building to for a good 6 months, so it's good that they're paying it off. But again, I think a lot of fans are a little bit disappointed because they kind of wanted something else. They kind of wanted, I don't know, it's tough again because, like, as I was saying, I think it's like when I was watching, I was like, man, they're really dragging this story out and it's really not going anywhere and it's been the same thing and blah, blah, blah. And whatnot. So I'd really like to see something else. I actually kind of like the comedy moment of like the doll in the background. That was kind of funny. I think that was kind of cool, but like I don't think it really I don't really think it really added a whole lot. I think it was a good comedy moment or whatever in a way and whatnot, but still, yeah, it's really tough. And again, like that's the problem. Like they like I know that she potentially, I'm gonna say who it is, has rehabbed now. So I kind of am hoping that Kylan King is coming back very soon. I kind of really want to see her come back because, like, I think that everyone was like I think it was last year that everyone voted for her to be like the one to watch or whatever, and I still think that she's the one to watch somewhere in that division, and whatnot. So again, like I'd love to see her come back, certainly, especially at this show, but then maybe not at this show. It's really going to be tough for her to come back at this show. But then again, it's like, well, when are you going to bring her back? Like, and how are you going to bring her back? You want to bring her back to being like the bad bitch who's gonna freaking take Jordan's title. Like, so I don't know. Like, and you want to bring her back at the point just before she gets a big win, just before that, just so that she can, kind of go on to the next thing and then, go to challenge Jordan at the next big thing. So it's like, well, okay, fair enough. So maybe at Emergence, I don't know, that sounds good because she's emerging. That sounds good. Certainly. But again, who knows? We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So again, like like I said, maybe you could get Natty coming out after this and then challenging Jordan for Emergence, which isn't that amazing, but like it's something. And then you get Kylan coming back and then, attacking Jordan post match or whatever, and then you get her like winning some sort of knockouts gauntlet or something like that, at Victory Road, and then going to challenge Jordan and whatnot at Bound for Glory. Like I say, like that's why I'm just saying, like it just doesn't seem like Ash is going to win this at all because she just hasn't beaten anyone, and they haven't really given her enough time to look at like the legitimate like person that could beat Jordan. Like, yeah, you could talk about that. That's kind of the idea because she's a heel. So obviously, if she wins, it's kind of like, well, her reign is illegitimate in a sense because she's a heel, and that's the way she's playing it and whatnot. I don't really see that. That could work certainly. That's a classic kind of thing, but it kind of like how long can you keep that going? Um, and again, it's like, well, who else is there for her to work with besides like Rosemary? And she's kind of already worked with Rosemary, and maybe like some of the more lower card girls, like sort of lower card girls, I guess, like Spitfire, Jodie Threatin and that and whatnot. So like there's very few other people. Like they could bring in more people, but again, like their legitimacy would be very questionable at best. So it's a very tough one. I just see Jordan winning and retaining for now. Yeah. So last one is the six-way elimination match. It's funny how like before this I was seeing so many people, like online saying how bad the King of the Mountain match is and what, well, not bad, but how silly the King of the Mountain match is and whatnot. But then I've been seeing nothing but people saying, oh, this should be a King of the Mountain. It should be a King of the Mountain. It should be a King of the Mountain. I want to see a King of the Mountain. Like, wait, what? I thought the King of the Mountain was silly and it had too many rules and all this stuff and whatnot. Why do you put the belt up instead of pulling it down? Blah 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 blah. All this stuff, etc. So it's a bit weird to see. Like, I don't know. I won't say that it's exactly the same people, but because I don't know that it is. But again, it's just like it's funny to see all these people sort of saying, "Oh, the King of the Mountain shit," and blah blah blah, and it's silly and whatnot, all this, and then people being like, "Oh, why aren't they doing a King of the Mountain?" Like, huh? What? Like it's a bit weird. But anyway, um, this match, I don't know, dude. Like, I think some parts of it are very clear and very obvious in some regards. I think like Josh Alexander obviously needs to be in this main event. Absolutely. If you're going to put Joe Hendry in and he's kind of still feuding with Kazarian, that kind of makes sense. Okay, that's fine. Nick Nemeth, the ex WWE guy that's basically everyone knows, so that's fine to try to help sell pay-per-view buys stroke tickets, as far as I'm concerned. And then Macklin, like, okay, like, sure, like he's there, I guess. Like, he's just gone through this interesting story with Santana and whatnot, kind of, I guess. But Macklin could literally be anyone else, and I think it'd be more, I don't know, more interesting, or he could have some other match that's on this card. So he's the least prominent member or the least relevant member in this kind of match. Unfortunately, like the fact that he basically semi-turned babyface is also kind of weird. Because he's traditionally a heel, and like you've got Hendry, Nemeth, and Alexander being the baby faces, and then Kazarian and Moose being the heels, and Macklin kind of like he's sort of babyface-ish or turning babyface-ish. Like you can do those characters that are the gray zone characters. Obviously, that's not me saying that you can't do this sort of stuff or you can't sort of tell this story or whatnot, but it's a very weird position to sort of put somebody in and to go, okay, well, we're going to put you in the main event. Like, like it would be in some ways the same story with Callahan, but at least like you've got that clear distinction that he's the baby face or he is a baby face or whatever. So I don't know. Everyone here. Oh, actually, no, not even everyone here. It's crazy. I just thought everyone here's held that title, haven't they? And or like three of the people have held the title, and three of the people haven't held the title, which is really weird in some ways, but really poetic in some other ways. It's interesting, but like all these people have had something to do with each other in the recent past ish. Um, like I guess like we were talking about recently, Jake something and his match with Hendry. And him being potentially getting over and whatnot and all that. But Hendry's certainly the most over person that is on this roster. And like I was thinking before this, when Moose won the title effectively, I thought, this system storyline, this seems like a year-long storyline at the least. I don't feel like this is the end, certainly, and I don't even think Bound for Glory would be the end of this story. So I don't know that, but like to me, I feel like Moose should certainly hold this title for a year at the very least. I kind of want to see them revisit Moose versus Josh Alexander 1 year apart, or whatever it is, or 2 years apart, or whatever it is. So I kind of want to see that. I want to see Moose eclipsing Alexander's record. I want the system storyline to continue for at least another few months. I do think it's gonna start wearing thin. That's certainly what happens with every storyline, or every faction and whatnot. Same thing, but you need to, keep. The thing is, you want to culminate Joe Hendry at the right time, in the right place, and all of that. You have to do that. That's the goal of this, in my opinion. Where do you go from there? Like, I don't know. Do you keep the system together, or do you break up the system? I think that, or do you try to reform the system? Now, normally, I think these factions, in some way, form, or fashion, fall apart when you have the leader or the team lose. So it starts becoming one of those things that it loses a lot of momentum and they sort of fall apart or whatever, or there's a new faction that gets born from kind of the ashes of the faction. I think you shouldn't do that. Like, I think you should just keep the faction together, keep them as strong as possible, and just sort of weasel Moose into being the champion after, a few months or something, or maybe even a short period of time, maybe even 1 month. He wins the rematch, and then you go from there. But I've heard some rumblings that Bound for Glory is going to be in a city and in a place that they've never been. So, like, they've been to England, so that doesn't make any sense. Like, for Joe Hendry to win it there, if they're going there, it is potential that, obviously, that's not like 100% true as well. But still, like, I guess my hope, again, because I've said it before, and I'll say it again and again and again. I'm not a religious person or anything like that, but man, am I praying for AJ Styles to come back. Like, that's the biggest thing that I want at this show, or at any level of WWE and TNA, like, crossover and whatever. That's what I think almost every fan wants, like, on their list of things. to come from this working relationship with WWE. We already talked about the Charlie Dempsey stuff, so it's clear. I think even Jordan has a open challenge. I know that somebody challenges her. I kind of saw it, but I don't know who it is. Like, even Charlie Dempsey, I've got basically literally no clue who this kid even is, apart from that's his name, and he's from NXT. And maybe that's the thing, like, the same problem. It's like, there's so many people that are there that have, that are just starting out, have got no real name to themselves, haven't really done anything, and are just out there trying to make a name for themselves, and that's fine too. But again, like, it's tough for people to invest in somebody that hasn't got a name for themselves, in a lot of ways. Like, so I don't know. But anyway, still, like, I just see that Moose will retain. That's my ultimately. I think that Moose will retain no matter what. And as I said, I do hope AJ returns at some point here. I don't know whether it's in the match. I don't know. Or whether it's after the match. I don't know. I hope that he challenges Moose at Bound for Glory. I don't know whether I want to see more than a few matches with him. Like I said, like there's only a few really great opponents that he can really like go up against. So, and only a few that would make any kind of real kind of sense. Um, so I don't know. It's going to be tough for me to believe that you can't do something. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. It's tough again because you really want to see Josh Alexander and AJ. You kind of want to see you know, uh, that kind of thing. Josh Alexander and Moose. You kind of want to see these big matches, but you've also got to have littler matches. Like so, like, I don't know, Leon Slater and AJ or something. That's still a pretty like baller match in many ways. But literally anyone and everyone that's on that roster, you'd just be like, man, we get to see AJ plus this person? Yeah, sure, I won't complain. Except for maybe like a bunch of the guys like Kaz or EY or whoever else, like the guys that he's had like already 50 or 60 something matches with. It's like, oh yeah, well, people have seen that. So it's like, well, are we going to give them that again? We'd rather give them, maybe on TV or something, but still, like you don't want to overexpose the guy or whatever, and you don't want to overwork the guy, and you don't even know how much you're going to get out of WWE and in this working relationship if he comes over. So it's going to be really really tough to figure out, like, and that's the thing, like figuring out how is this working, how can we pay this guy or whatever, how do we get him his just desserts in what he deserves, because he absolutely deserves to be utilized and paid well. But I get they can only afford so much, so maybe like they have to make an exchange of some sort and say, hey, you can take the Hardys for a few months or a few weeks or something or whatever it is, or we can do some other stuff or something, like take someone from our roster for a few weeks or something, whatever you want, like, we'll give you someone, and as long as we don't have that many plans for them, or whatever we need for our show, if we can just have AJ for a little while, and like he's not doing anything for you guys right now. So, like, if there's any time, at any point, ever in the history of this working relationship for this sort of to happen, this is probably the time to think about doing it, because again, like AJ said, hey, I'm probably going to hang him up this year or whatever, or maybe early next year, or very soon at least, whichever way you want to look at it. So, you want to give him some good quality matches just to, sort of say, or whatever. If he's going to come in to even wrestle, who knows? But if he's not, it's a little bit of a letdown in some ways. But hey, I think the fans will still accept that to some extent. But the I think the fans would, you know, really love and you know fall over themselves for him having matches, even if they're not as good of matches as what he had back in the day or whatever. Like it's still AJ, and he's still having like very good up there matches. Like I haven't seen anything he's done in the last like few months to year or whatever it's been, but still like people still like register him up there, in being in that upper echelon and whatnot. And he had I think from what I've heard, a good showing against Cody and whatnot. So I know it's a team effort, but that's the thing. Like again, like this is a team effort, and somebody's got to somewhat carry AJ here or there. Like you're not going to be mad at that, are you? Like, well, you shouldn't be. But anyway, those are the things that I want. Like really, and I think that's the thing that the fans, like the TNA faithful, really want too. So that's where we're at with that. But besides those matches that have been announced, and besides some of those matches that could be announced, sort of soon-ish, I don't know what else there could be. There could be some other stuff. There's a few people that are on the roster that I feel like, man, what are they going to be doing? Like there are obviously a few other wrestlers that are kind of on the roster as well that I'm kind of just like, oh yeah, they exist, and do people really care that they're not doing something or that they haven't got something to work with? Probably not. Or they don't care that much. They're just like, here to see the things that they're really here to see. And again, maybe there's something else that we could see. Like we still don't know. With WWE crossover or NXT crossover and whatnot, that sort of thing. So we'll have to continue to wait and see in that. But yeah, we will in fact see, or we'll find out one way or another. We always do. So yeah, that is that for now. I think you guys. But you guys, as I said, can tell me who you guys think, what else you want to see on this show, and whatnot, or what you expect to see on the show, whatever. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I'll be back to do an updated version of this probably just before the matches itself. We're not doing a live watch along. I will do a review for the show though, just afterwards as well, but or as soon as possible as what I can. But yes, I won't be doing a live watch along for this show because it's just a lot of work to kind of get the timing and whatnot, all that sort of right and whatnot. So yeah, this is a lot of work to kind of get going and whatnot. So, and usually I just actually want to watch the show like properly myself, and enjoy it rather than like reacting so much to it. So, but yeah. Hope you guys, as I said, enjoyed, and hope you guys will join me again in the next one.